Hamelin is a town in Germany, not far from the city of Hanover. On one side of it runs a deep, wide river called the Weser. Now there's a legend about Hamelin. A legend is a tale so old that nobody can really say how true it is. This one begins many, many years ago, when the town was overrun with rats. For a long time, the townspeople had tried every kind of trap and everything else, but the rats were far too clever to be caught. Instead, they got bigger and bigger and fatter, and every day there were more and more of them. Even the dogs were afraid of them, and the good folks of Hamelin were at their wits' end, especially the women, because they were always finding rats in their cellars and larders, and even inside their food barrels. But what really infuriated them was the way the creatures chewed up their best clothes and made nests in their Sunday hats. At last, the people of Hamelin could stand it no longer. They marched to the town hall in a body and told the mayor that he must either find a way of clearing the town of rats or lose his job. And for hours they puzzled and shook their heads, but nobody. While the mayor and the council were still racking their brains, I stepped to the council chamber. He was tall, wore a coat of many colors. The mayor asked him who he was and what he wanted. "People call me the Pied Piper," replied the stranger. "If you like, I'll get rid of the rats for you." And then very calmly he added, "My fee will be 1,000 guilders.
"You can have your 1,000 guilders and more," said the mayor, "if you can really do as you say."
So, out into the street went the piper. He was smiling, as if he knew what a surprise he had in store for the people of Hamelin. Then he put his pipe to his lips and sounded a few clear notes. And then he started to play a curious little tune. Almost at once, from all over the town, there came bubbling and scuffling and scurrying. It came quietly at first, and then it grew and grew into a great pittering and pattering and squeaking and squealing, and out of the houses came the rats, slithering and sliding and running and tumbling over each other to follow the Pied Piper as he walked through the streets playing his strange music. On and on he went with the rats behind him, right across the town to the river, the deep, wide river Weser. There he stopped, still playing his tune, but the rats went on, a great long line of them plunging into the river, one after the other, until they were all drowned. Did I say all? All except one. One rat, just one, managed to swim across the river, and when he reached the far side, he ran on and didn't stop until he got to Ratland. And there he told his story and tried to explain how it had happened. "It was the music," he said sadly. "It seemed to promise vast quantities of wonderful foods, everything that rats like best, and it made the river look like a shining stream of milk and honey." Now the people of Hamelin had watched the Pied Piper's performance with great excitement and in utter amazement. While it was happening, they could hardly believe their eyes. Now it was over, they could hardly believe their good fortune. Hamelin was rid of the rats. All over the town the people were laughing and singing, and the bells were ringing in the steeples. But that is not the end of the story. In the town hall, the mayor and the council were shaking hands and celebrating. And then, suddenly, and very quietly, the Pied Piper reappeared. "If you please, my 1,000 guilders?" The mayor stared at him blankly. In his excitement, he'd quite forgotten his rash promise. 1,000 guilders was a great deal of money. The rats were gone, and Hamelin didn't need to worry about them anymore, nor about a funny-looking stranger in a motley coat. 1,000 guilders, cried the mayor. Impossible, ridiculous. We'll give you 50. The face of the Pied Piper grew very stern. "I want," he said, "my 1,000 guilders."
The mayor thumped the council table. 50, he growled, not a pfennig more.
Once again, into the street went the Pied Piper. Once again, he put the pipe to his lips and played a few clear notes. And then broke into a merry little tune. Again, almost at once, there came an answering sound of hustling and bustling and laughing and chuckling. But this time, it was the children who came out of the houses, leaping and jumping, singing and dancing as they followed the Pied Piper through the streets. On and on he went with the children behind him, hopping and skipping along and clapping their hands with joy. In vain, the fathers and mothers of Hamelin, with fear gripping at their hearts, called after their children, "Stop! Stop!" The children didn't seem to hear them. All they could hear was the music of the Pied Piper, and on they danced after him in a long procession, right across the town towards the river. The deep, wide river Weser. The hearts of the town people seemed to stop beating, and a silence, the silence of terror, fell on them as they watched. And then a great sigh of relief went up, for when the Pied Piper reached the river, he turned along the bank towards the west. Now the townspeople felt better, for that way led only to a great hill, and when he reached the hill, he would surely have to stop. But as they watched, a door opened in the hillside, revealing a mighty cavern. Through the door into the cavern went the piper, with the children, still hopping and skipping along after him, still clapping their hands with joy. And when they'd all passed into the cavern and vanished from sight, the door in the hillside closed behind them and melted from view as if it had never existed. Did I say all the children? All except one, a little boy who was lame and could not dance after the piper as well or as fast as the others, so that he fell quite a way behind the end of the procession, and the door in the hillside had closed before he could reach it. Of all the children in Hamelin, he was the only one to return home on that never-to-be-forgotten day. You may be thinking that for this he must have been very thankful, but he wasn't. He was very sad, because now he had no friends to play with. They'd all gone to the wonderful land the Pied Piper had been telling them about in his music. It was a land where everything was bright and new, a land of flowers and fruit trees, with games and toys for everyone, a land where children could be happy all day long and never needed to grow up. The boys and girls of Hamelin were dancing their way to it gladly, and how the lame boy wished he could have been with them. There was never a town as sad as Hamelin that day. The mayor and the council sent messengers everywhere to look for the Pied Piper and offer him any number of thousands of guilders to bring the children back. But nobody ever found him. So the townspeople had this story written down in their records and on the window of their church as a reminder to themselves and a warning to others. When you make a bargain, keep it. Pay your just debts and never break a promise.